75-year-old Dennis Hamlin and 69-year-old Lou Hamlin were both outside the home when crews arrived. Dennis Hamlin later died at the hospital.
Denny Hamlin has lived his entire life in public view. Every win, every loss, every rivalry, every controversy. But nothing in his long NASCAR career prepared him for the moment he would step forward, not as a driver, not as a team owner, but as a son facing the most painful loss of his life. In late December, a quiet night in North Carolina turned into tragedy. A fire broke out at the home of Denny Hamlin's parents in Stanley, North Carolina. When first responders arrived, the situation was already devastating. Dennis Hamlin, Denny's father, was killed in the fire. His mother, Lou Hamlin, survived but suffered serious injuries and was rushed to a burn center for treatment. In a matter of hours, the foundation of Hamlin's family was shaken forever. For days, there were no words from Denny Hamlin, no statements, no interviews, no social media posts. In a sport where silence is rare, the absence of his voice spoke volumes. Dennis Hamlin was more than just the father of a NASCAR star. He was the man who helped shape one. Long before Denny Hamlin became a Daytona 500 winner, a multi-time Cup Series race winner, and a co-owner of one of NASCAR's most powerful teams, he was a kid with a dream and a father willing to sacrifice everything to support it. Dennis worked tirelessly to fund his son's racing career when money was tight and opportunities were limited. He hauled cars, he worked on engines, he believed when belief was all they had. In countless interviews over the years, Denny Hamlin credited his parents for making his racing career possible. Without them, there was no fast track, no early break, no safety net. That is what made this loss so deeply personal to fans across the NASCAR world. This was not just a headline about a driver's family tragedy. This was the loss of a man many felt they knew through the stories Denny told again and again. When the news of the fire broke, the NASCAR community responded immediately. Drivers, team owners, media members, fans, messages of support flooded social media. But still, Hamlin remained silent. He was grieving privately, away from the cameras and microphones that have followed him for decades. It was not until several days later that Denny Hamlin finally spoke. In his first public comments since the fire, Hamlin chose gratitude over detail. He thanked everyone who had reached out with support, prayers, and condolences. He acknowledged the overwhelming response from fans and the racing community. And most importantly, he shared a small but meaningful update about his mother. Lou Hamlin, he said, was improving. Those two words carried enormous weight. Improving did not mean healed. It did not mean out of danger, but it meant hope. In the midst of unimaginable loss, there was at least one piece of good news to hold on to. Hamlin also made it clear that his family needed privacy. This was not a time for speculation or investigation updates or media pressure. It was a time for healing, mourning, and recovery. Behind the scenes, the reality was far more complicated. Grief does not pause careers. NASCAR schedules do not stop for tragedy. The Cup Series calendar marches forward relentlessly, and Denny Hamlin sits at the center of multiple responsibilities. He is a full-time driver. He is a team owner at 2311 Racing. He is a public figure whose presence is expected at sponsor events, team meetings, and media obligations. Balancing those demands while dealing with personal devastation is something no driver is trained for. According to reports following his statement, Hamlin remained focused on his family first. Racing decisions came second. The priority was being there for his mother as she continued her recovery and processing the loss of his father away from the spotlight. A separate update published shortly after offered a more hopeful tone. Hamlin shared that his mother's condition continued to trend in a positive direction. While details remained limited, the message was clear. She was fighting, she was healing, and the family was grateful for every step forward. This second update mattered because it showed a shift, not away from grief, but toward resilience. Tragedy does not end in a single moment. It unfolds over weeks, months, and years. Recovery is slow, healing is uneven, but hope, once it appears, becomes something families cling to fiercely. For Denny Hamlin, hope and loss now coexist. This moment also reframed how many fans see him. Hamlin has spent much of his career as one of NASCAR's most polarizing figures. Aggressive, confident, unapologetic, a driver who embraced being booed as much as being cheered. But tragedy strips away reputation and rivalry. In moments like this, only humanity remains. Across NASCAR, competitors who have battled Hamlin on track for years set aside differences. Messages poured in not because of championships or team alliances, but because grief is universal. Loss connects people in ways competition never can. The fire itself remains under investigation, but neither Hamlin nor his family has spoken publicly about the cause. And they do not have to. Answers will come when they come. What matters now is recovery, remembrance, and honoring the man who helped build one of NASCAR's most successful modern careers. What is clear is that Denny Hamlin is navigating one of the hardest chapters of his life under the same public microscope that has followed him since his teens. And yet, in his brief words, he chose humility, gratitude, and restraint. That choice says more than any long statement ever could. For now, racing can wait, records can wait, rivalries can wait. What cannot wait is healing. Not as fans, not as rivals, but as people hoping that healing continues one day at a time. In the days ahead, Denny Hamlin will eventually return to the rhythm of racing. The sound of engines will replace silence. The demands of competition will return. But the man stepping back into the car will not be the same one who left it. Loss has a way of changing perspective. It sharpens what matters and quiets what does not. Every driver carries something unseen when they race. Pressure, expectation, fear. For Hamlin now, there is also memory. The memory of a father who stood behind fences and in garages. A father who believed before the wins came. A father who never needed a trophy to feel proud. At the same time, there is strength in knowing his father's belief never disappeared. It simply changed form. It lives in the discipline, the work ethic, the refusal to quit when things get difficult. Those traits were never accidental. They were taught. As for Mary Lou Hamlin, her recovery stands as a symbol of endurance. Healing after trauma is not linear. There are good days and setbacks, but each step forward matters. Each improvement is a reminder that tragedy does not always get the final word. His decisions, his legacy, that is the nature of sports. But this chapter will remain separate. It exists outside standings and statistics. It is the chapter where a son spoke softly after losing his father, where a family asked for privacy and received compassion, where the sport paused, if only briefly, to remember that behind every helmet is a human being. And long after the season ends, that will be the part of this story that lasts, not as fans, not as rivals, but as people hoping that healing continues, one day at a time.